All right. Hello, everyone. We'll give it a second here as everyone gets connected to audio. I'll let my screen update, see how many fine people are on today. Welcome to day 2 of Black Friday, though. If you are watching our replay and you're like, wait, it's not Black Friday yet. Well, for us, it is because we started early here at FDN. Nice. I see everyone tuning in. Welcome. So if you are already in the chat, you can hear me loud and clear. Please just drop a hello and where you're tuning in from. We would love to get to see that. And then another question I always ask, if you're a regular on our events, then you know I'm going to ask this. How many people have made all the sessions so far? So if you made our keynote speaker yesterday, Kelsey, grad roundtable, and now you're on this, you can drop a 3 for 3 in the chat. But otherwise, let us know where you're tuning in from. I always think it's cool to see the people from around the world. Anyway, this is day 2 of our Black Friday thing. What we noticed last year is that, and maybe you guys have seen this too, you could put this in the chat if you've noticed this trend, because like this was not a trend when I was a kid. So I think it's so funny. Have you guys noticed how every company now is starting Black Friday way earlier? Like it used to be this multiple day thing that was it around Thanksgiving. And then like I see companies now, it's like November 1st and they're like Black Friday has started. So I think it's kind of cool for the.
It started in September, actually. I took advantage of a few Black Friday sales in September this year.
I'm just going to keep pushing this earlier and earlier. I mean,
totally. It's like the Labor Day sale gets longer and longer, and then it runs into the Black Friday sale.
You agree that this is like a trend out of the last several years? I never really saw things like that.
I'm old enough, Ev, to remember when Black Friday was only one day.
Sure.
and you had to go to the store on that day. Yeah.
Yeah. I did that one time with I was pretty little, but with my mom and sister. That was actually a fun experience, though. You go to Thanksgiving, you stay up all night with mom, and then you go out and buy stuff that I can't even remember. That wasn't the exciting part. The exciting part was getting to stay out till 2 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, now everyone just has the phones. They started a month early, so we kind of did that 3 weeks early here at FDN. If you are interested in the course, this is the largest cash discount we have ever done in company history for the public, which is super exciting. So it is $2,000 off. You don't need any special code. You don't need to go to any special place necessarily. It started on the website yesterday, which we're very excited about. It makes the payment plans a lot easier for people. Pay in full is always still going to be the best discount because I don't want to get complicated right now, and we'll save this for another time, but basically you always get a bigger discount for paying in full regardless. So essentially with the Black Friday sale, it's almost $3,500 off for paying in full. So if you guys want to get that sorted out and figure it out, there's plenty of time still. I'll drop a link in a little bit for a call that you can do here at FDN. And I'm sorry that I say this every live. It's important though for people that are tuning in for the first time. You already have the offer, right? Like our sales team is never going to hit you with one of those weird tactics where it's like, hey, you know how that Ev guy's saying $2,000 off? It's really $3,000 for you. I'm sorry. Bad news is there is no additional discount. Good news is that means that if you talk to our course enrollment reps, which are sales reps, there's nothing that they're going to like use on you or tactics that they have. It truly is a consultative process. And I encourage almost everyone to do it before they consider going through FDN, because this is a community. You'll find out today probably from Elizabeth, our education director. Her and I are very similar in the sense, at least we're actually quite different, but we're very similar in the sense that we were FDN trainees before we were staff members here. That is true for the majority of our staff. It's true for everyone in our community. So we want people that want to be here. So definitely take advantage of those free calls that we have, especially in a time like Black Friday where you already know the sale. Don't have to worry about any weird gimmick stuff. We try not to do that anyway, but I don't know what they hit you guys with normally. So my name's Evan Transu, by the way. I go by Detective Ev here. The whole reason I am lucky enough to be able to host the podcast for us now and do these events and PR stuff is I had 7 different diagnosed health conditions at the age of 18. I got onto this journey very early on, mostly because I had no other choice. I would love to believe that I am such a good person that my desires at 18, 19 weren't to go out to college and hook up with people like all my other friends were doing. I just couldn't. So I had to go gluten-free and dairy-free like a middle-aged person in America. That's what I was doing at 18, 19. It did lead to a much more wholesome life, though, which is great. And I do not meet the diagnostic criteria for any of those health conditions anymore. And I contribute almost all of that progress to what I learned at FDN. And that's why they can't get me to shut up now, because I love talking about it with people. So Elizabeth, this is totally on me. And I never do this. I don't have the formal bio for you today. So if I can do off the cuff one. I always have to mention this because she'll never really say it herself. And I think she doesn't even think about it this way. I think it's one of the most amazing career paths I've ever heard someone be involved with. She was helping minors who were victims of sex trafficking for, I think it was just about a decade. And one of the reasons that she had health issues, Elizabeth, that is because that's probably the most mentally stressful job, or at least one of them that you could possibly do, because you're taking on the energy of these people. And crazier yet, you talk about night shift. If someone calls the center and place that you're working for in the middle of the night, well, you got to go help them. And why would you not want to, right? Your heart's in the right place. But it's like you lived this insane life for a while, pouring yourself out to other people and human beings in one of the most truly special ways possible. But then that ended up getting to you with chronic fatigue and other symptoms. And you've also been able to get to a significantly better place with the FDN philosophy, correct?
Absolutely. Yes. FDN saved my life.
Yes, yes. And you deserve it after you're out there saving other people's, which is amazing. Let me go to the chat real quick. Oh, you guys are quiet? Never mind. I didn't scroll up. You guys are not quiet. So we got some 3 for 3s. Welcome back, Rachel. Reading, PA, Minnesota. Really cool. Awesome, guys. So I want to make sure we have plenty of time for Elizabeth's presentation today. She told us right beforehand, and when I say us, that's because we also have Nitty, who is our marketing project manager. She's nice enough to join us today. We'll be in the chat. So if you see FDN training in the chat, that's either going to be myself or Nitty primarily, so we can answer any of your questions while Elizabeth is talking. But anyway, what she told us before we got started here, she's like, I'm going to present some stuff I've never presented today. So we're buckled up. We're ready to go. I am going to get her slides going here. She does have a relatively hard stop, I heard, right around the half-hour mark on the hour. Wow. Okay, I'm just going to restart because you guys are going to be so confused if I finish that
52
sentence.
minutes from now.
Thank you. Let's go with 52 minutes from now. It's time zone neutral. Much better answer there. And then we're going to take a 30-minute break after that. And then you guys will have another link where you can join us for a trainee roundtable. So for those of you that said 3 for 3, you were on our roundtable yesterday. We do the exact same thing with our trainees today. And for those that weren't on the stuff yesterday, the trainee roundtable means we're actually bringing in trainees who are currently actively working on the course. We ask them their opinions. We don't script the questions. And we also throw questions to you as the audience if you would like to ask them stuff. So that's what will be happening today at 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern, once we take a 30-minute break after Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you know how Restream goes. I am 100% here for you if anything happens with the slides or something weird goes on. But I am going to remove my head for right now just to give you the space. And I'm looking forward to seeing the brand new presentation. I'm excited.
Amazing. Thank you for that tee up, Detective Ev. As always, I enjoy being on these with you. And thank you everyone for joining, especially those of you who've been to all 3 events, those of you who are new. I see somebody in North Carolina. I'm in North Carolina also. Amazing. So here we are heading into the holidays. And I think to some degree or another, that has us all thinking about family and thinking about what is important to us. And one of my fellow coworkers broached the question to me for this particular segment. Why is functional health important? Why is functional health important to the world? So as I sat here cogitating on that question, what was my way into that question for this particular talk, and family being on my mind, I decided that I would start with something personal. This is a photograph of my mom. Her name is Blair. This was taken in 1985 when she was visiting Abu Simbel in Egypt. Put in the chat if you've ever been to Egypt. Egypt is such an amazing place. She was 40 years old when this picture was taken. And this is in the 80s. And this is why she looks like an 80s queen, because it's definitely like mid 80s. And she was an intellectual. She loved the life of the mind. She loved learning. And she had a lifelong obsession with ancient Egypt. She really, really wanted to go. And then this opportunity fell into her lap when she was 40 to go. And she had to go by herself. And that was a big deal for my mom at that time, as a 40-year-old woman who hadn't necessarily traveled by herself, to go across the world to fulfill her life's dream. But she did it. She jumped on that opportunity. So this is my radiant, beautiful 40-year-old mother living her dream life in 1985. This is my mom in 2014 at the age of 69, a couple of days before she passed away from early onset Alzheimer's disease. So, as we know, in the US today and around the world, there is a chronic health epidemic going on. 60% of all adults have a chronic health condition. 30% of all children have a chronic health condition. And the average 30-year-old in this day and age has 9.3 prescriptions. So I want you guys to think about that. And I hear this framed a lot as, well, this is the cost of modernity. We no longer die from a broken leg. We no longer die from exposure to cold. Now we've traded that uh, relative stability for diseases like fatty liver disease or autoimmune conditions or diabetes or early onset Alzheimer's, all of these sort of dementia related things. So I want you to put in the chat if you know someone who has a chronic disease. Just go ahead and put me in the chat if you know someone who has a chronic disease.
Just letting you know, by the way, 30 to 60-second delay on restream. So they're not answering you, just letting you know.
Okay, awesome. That's good to know. Thank you. Yes. And then I also want you to think about, okay, if you know someone who has a chronic disease, how close is that person to you? Do you know someone in your family who has a chronic disease? Do you know someone who, one of your children who has a chronic disease? Do you know someone in your close friend group who has a chronic disease? So just go ahead and put me if that person with the chronic disease is close to you. Yeah, and we'll wait for those me's to come in. And now I want you to think about if you have personally been impacted by the death of someone who has had a chronic disease. So go ahead and put me in the chat if someone close to you, in your family, in your friend group, has died of a chronic disease. And I'm going to put me in the chat, yeah, for because that's definitely my story as well. So I'm seeing some yeses, and we'll wait for some of that chat to come in. So we've been told that chronic disease is sort of the trade-off for living in modernity, for having stable homes, for having temperature control, for having a steady food supply. We're not dying of starvation anymore. We're not dying of winter anymore. We're not dying of famine anymore. But chronic disease is the price that we have to pay for that. So the question that I want to ask today is there a different way? Is there a different way? Does that have to be the case? And so the game that we're all in, whether we have realized it yet or not, is this game of how do I live in the modern world and avoid chronic disease? How do I live in the modern world and help my family avoid chronic disease? How do I live in the modern world and help my friends and my loved ones and my community members avoid chronic disease? And the stakes are high for this. The stakes are really high. It is the people we love. It is the people that make up our families. It is the people who mean the most to us in the world. They are what is at stake. So the stakes could not be higher. And I know a lot of you know that you are in this game, right? Because you decided to be health coaches, you decided to be personal trainers, you decided to be massage therapists, you decided to be nutritionists. You knew you were in this game. Others of you didn't know you were in this game until you had a brush with chronic disease. So either someone that you love or yourself. Shortly after my mom died, I got chronic fatigue. as Ev mentioned, I was, burning the candle at both ends. I had all of this stress going on from working with the victims of domestic minor sex trafficking, and my life was flashing before my eyes. It really was. I didn't know that I was in this game until then. I didn't know that I was in this game until I was the one who couldn't find answers to my health, until I was the one who was coming up against this disease. So I'm sure a lot of you got into this game that way also. And you can go ahead and put me in the chat if that is you. And then there are those people out there who don't yet know that they are playing this game, but they are. And there will come a moment when they realize that they are, when they get this diagnosis of a chronic disease, or when they're in the preclinical stages, or when someone in their life comes across this. We are all playing this game, whether we know it or not. And the stakes are really high. So I want you to go ahead and put in the chat, who are you playing for? Who are you playing this game for? And it's okay to be playing for multiple people. I'm playing for my mom. I'm playing for myself. I'm playing for my dad. I'm playing for my brother. I'm playing for my best friends. I'm playing for my aunt. I'm playing for my uncle. I'm playing for my cousins. And the stakes are incredibly high. So I don't know, Ev. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Is it that much of a delay?
No, it's not a delay at all. So I don't know why you're not seeing the chat. I can do this. I'll just do this for a moment so you can see this, but these people are blowing up for you here.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, awesome. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, good. Me, my family, my friends, my family, myself, my family, friends, myself. Yep, great. My whole family, including chosen family.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for putting all that in there. It's important that we know, because this is a lifelong game that we are playing. We never get to exit this game now that we're in it. It is important that we know who we're playing for and why we are playing. So thank you for that. So now that we've talked about this game that we're in of beating chronic disease before it begins, I want to talk about what is wellness, which is the sort of the opposite of not being sick. But it's so much more than that. So I want to tell you from an FDN perspective, what is wellness? And so I'm going to take you through this little diagram that we call the brain-body diagram here. And at the top of the symphony of the body, we have the brain. And when the brain and the body are in sync, they are communicating through blood, which is carrying hormones, nutrients, immune assets. It's going through nerves, where the nerves are talking to the outside world and relaying information back. And it's going through that life force or chi that is a little bit hard to sort of nail down what that is exactly. But when that's all working well and talking to each other well, then we have function. We have 100% function, and that is normal. 100% function is what the body is built to do. And when our body is functioning like that, we are in a state of ease. And we call this at FDN vital reserve. And I want you to think of vital reserve like your body having a bank account. And the bank account is paying for the environment, and the bank account is paying for everything that you do in the day. And the bank account is responsible then for also paying for internal function. So what we want to see at the end of the day is money left in the bank account. If we have money left in the bank account at the end of the day, we are going to stay well. And the degree to which we will be well will be commensurate with the surplus that we have in the bank account. By the same token, if the bank account at the end of the day is in debt, we're going to get sick. And the degree to which we get sick is going to be correlated to the amount of debt that we have in the bank account and for the amount of time that we have that debt in the bank account. So we're going to get a symptom that pops up every now and then. And that symptom indicates that we are not functioning at 100%, and that in fact we have malfunction, and that the vital reserve bank account is being stressed, and that we are no longer in this state of ease where we can easily pay for our environment and pay for internal function. Now we are in a state of dis-ease. And the symptom comes as a harbinger of that state. And this is what we call metabolic chaos at FDN, and I will explain further what metabolic chaos is later. So normally what happens is that when we get a symptom, we're going to go to the doctor, and the doctor is going to give us some kind of relief for that symptom. He's going to give us a pill, or he's going to recommend surgery, something to relieve that symptom. But symptoms are just the signal that something is wrong. They are in and of themselves not the thing that is wrong. They are just saying, hey, we got a flag on the play here. We need to pay attention. And so when we go about relief care in this way, in this allopathic way of just getting rid of symptoms, that symptom may go away. It may absolutely go away. But the malfunction and dis-ease that are taking money out of the vital reserve bank account are still there. That money is still being spent and wasted. We're still at risk for getting sick at the end of the day because we don't have money left in the vital reserve bank account. So in our new paradigm, we want to focus on resolving metabolic chaos while providing relief. We don't want people to be lingering with symptoms, but we don't want to stop there. We don't want to just say, oh, we got rid of your symptom. Perfect. That's all we wanted to do. We actually want to return function and ease back to the body by putting money in the vital reserve bank account so that there's more to be spent on internal function. So the way that we spend money out of our vital reserve bank account is on what we call distress. There are two kinds of stress. We have our eustress, which is generally challenging our adaptability and challenging us to be more nimble and more agile and better able to respond to those external circumstances in which we find ourselves all day, every day. We are in a dynamically shifting environment that requires us to be nimble and be able to deal with change and adapt quickly. And that is called eustress. So that's our exercise and our things like that. That's all putting money in the vital reserve bank account. But then our distresses are everything that are costing money out of the vital reserve bank account. And I'm sure many of you, when you think about distress, think about emotional distress and mental distress. And that is a huge category where we spend money. So we're spending money on hating our jobs and feeling like we don't have enough money and worrying about our children, worrying about our families, having anxiety over whether or not we're going to owe a tax bill at the end of the year. Stress around the projects that are due, stress around whether or not the boss is going to like it, stress around commuting to work every day through traffic and coming back, stress around making sure everybody in our household has what they need and that everything is done and that the to-do lists are not getting out of control. All of that costs a lot of money out of the vital reserve bank account. But at FDN, we also recognize that other things cost money out of the vital reserve bank account and would be labeled as distress. So we have our physical stressors. So who sits in a chair way too much during the course of a day? I do. Who doesn't get up and move around enough in the course of a day? Who has old injuries, maybe from sports that you did in high school, or maybe a car accident that you were in at some point in your life that still caused you pain and still caused you misalignment? Who are my massage therapists out there who are constantly doing repetitive motion with your wrists and your hands and things like that? Who drinks too much coffee? All of these things count as physical stressors, and they are taking money out of the vital reserve bank account pennies at a time. And then we have our environmental stressors. So, are we eating junk or are we eating pure organic food? Are we drinking tap water that's full of chemicals? Or are we able to filter those out into a more pure form of water? Are we dealing with all of these chemicals in our environment in our homes? Do we have furniture that's off gassing, rugs that are off gassing? Do we wash our clothes in chemicals? Do we clean our home with chemicals? Are we cooking in chemicals? Are we storing our food in plastic and aluminum? Are we eating canned food that's leaching out aluminum from where it is stored? All of those things are costing pennies and pennies and pennies out of the bank account. They're costing a bunch of money at the end of the day. So all of this is leading to malfunction and dis-ease. And then we come up with a symptom. Now, is the symptom related uh, in any way that we can identify? Probably not. That symptom could be something like fatigue or brain fog, could come from anywhere. That symptom, like weight gain, could come from so many places. That symptom, like insomnia, could be from so many root causes. We're never going to know just from the symptom. And if I just go ahead and take a supplement or a pill to help me sleep at night, am I addressing any of these distress factors that are actually costing the money out of the bank account and not allowing me to return back to full function? If so, I'm just ignoring all of that. So we say, look, we've got to identify all of these healing opportunities and we have to apply wellness principles so that we can restore normal function. This is the game that I was talking about earlier. This is the game that we're in. If we're just curing symptoms and we're not returning function to the body and we're not returning money back to the vital reserve bank account, we are setting ourselves up for chronic disease. That's the end result. But it is here when we say, no, just chasing the symptoms not enough. Just allopathic care for the symptom isn't going to get me there. I actually have to fully fund the bank account. That's the way I win. That is the way I win this game against chronic disease, this game that we're all in. This is the way I win it for myself. This is the way I win it for my family. This is the way I win it for the people that I love. This is the way that I win it for the people I want beside me into my 90s, into my 100s. This is the way that I win it. And so when we are able to look around for all of these healing opportunities and identify them across the board, all of the distresses that are taking money out of the bank, all of the places where there are imbalances that I can return back to some sort of function, put money in the bank, return the body back to a state of function, return money to the bank account so that it can be spent upstream on healing. This is where the game is won. And this is what we call the corrective phase. So we're going to do lab work, measure all of these imbalances, and then correct them through really targeted work in these protocols. And the symptoms may disappear. The complaints often permanently resolve. And now we're in the maintenance phase. At this point, we know what we need to do to keep money in the bank account. We know what we need to do to make sure that function stays high and that we are going to win this game against chronic disease. So, we talked earlier about metabolic chaos. Metabolic chaos is this idea that symptoms are vague and they can be the result of multiple root causes. We cannot know the cause from the symptom. We simply cannot. And this is a lot like these ripples on the lake in this picture here, where if I throw a rock into this lake, it's going to cause a ripple. And then those ripples are going to cause ripples, and those ripples are going to cause ripples, and those ripples are going to cause ripples. And now the surface of this lake is in chaos. But the rock that I originally threw is no longer presenting an influence there. Now it's just all of the after effects of that rock. So if I try to go back and measure like Was it a rock? I'm never going to know. I'm not going to be able to find the root cause. But I can see this picture of chaos that is the result of the root cause or multiple root causes. And this is why the sounds like method is never going to yield reliable or predictable results. Oh, it sounds like thyroid. It sounds like IBS. Oh, sounds like you have a parasite. It's never going to get us there with the sounds like method. So instead, what we choose to do is measure the dysfunction across foundational systems and address the deficits that we see. So, where are the imbalances? Where are bank accounts running short? How do we identify as many imbalances as possible so that I can put money in the vital reserve bank account? Just keep putting in money so that the body can spend that upstream on healing, on those things that I didn't measure and I don't know about. And this method of working is going to outperform symptom chasing and guessing at the root cause every single time. Symptom chasing and guessing at the root cause may get you there sometimes, may get you part of the way there, but it's not enough to fully fund the bank account that is our insurance policy against chronic disease. We're not going to win the game. We're not going to win the game until we are looking at as many imbalances as we can possibly find. So when we get this symptom, we go to the doctor. The doctor says, you know what? Everything looks normal. And that puts us into this cycle of trial and error where we got to go find a new diet or a new supplement or a new therapy. It's like, oh, maybe this red light device, or maybe cranial sacral therapy, or maybe a keto diet, or maybe this supplement for brain function, or maybe like this supplement that's going to control my blood sugar. Maybe this is the answer. And maybe we get some relief from that for a minute. Maybe we get a little bit of relief, but not enough. Or maybe it doesn't do anything for us at all. And then we're on to the next thing. And for those of you that are health coaches, you are familiar with this cycle of trial and error for your clients too, because they're coming in with symptoms. You are meeting that with the best recommendations that you can based on sort of general knowledge and general recommendations. But when it doesn't work, like it worked for the person before, or it worked for the same person that had the same symptoms last month. When it doesn't work for this person, you are on that cycle of trial and error thinking, God, what do I do now? I got to figure out a new diet or a new supplement or a new therapy to help this person get better. And that's not filling anyone's needs. Instead, that results in these islands of information that lead to sort of one-size-fits-all programs. That's going to keep your clients stuck in the cycle of trial and error. But a data-driven, holistic approach can outperform that current standard of care that keeps everyone stuck in trial and error, whether it is for yourself or for your clients. And FDN was born out of the desire to be that solution for people that are stuck in the cycle of trial and error. So the way that this works, let's just think about metabolic chaos as being caused by chronic stress. And there are definitely more than one cause of metabolic chaos, but chronic stress is the thing that we all have in common, that 99.9% of us all have in common is chronic stress. We are carrying too much stress for too long. We can handle huge amounts of stress as human beings. We're designed for it. But it has to be short-lived and it has to be occasional. Now, do you carry huge amounts of stress? Yes, I'm sure you do. Go ahead and put it in the chat. Do you carry huge amounts of stress? Now, the question you want to answer next is that stress occasional? No, that stress is not occasional. And is that stress short-lived? No, it isn't. So already we're living outside of our biological design. We know that. And that's what many, many of us have in common. So when that happens, our hormones respond by saying, hey, you know what? We don't need to worry about reproduction right now. Reproduction is the last thing on our mind. We're trying to survive. So how about we step back and we let cortisol run the show to keep us safe and survive? And then when the sex hormones start getting low, we lose our ambition, we lose our motivation, we sort of lose our joie de vivre, and we sort of walk around life going, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't really feel like going out and crushing it today. I'll just phone it in. And that becomes months, then that becomes years. And that's just because sex hormones decided that they needed to give some of their money to cortisol. Now, at the same time, the immune system says, hey, I cost a lot of money to fund. So how about I cut back on funding, and that'll free up more money to deal with this stress that we have going on. And when the immune system is underfunded, now we get sick more often. It takes us longer to recover. We're more prone to being reactive to our environments and reactive to the things that we're putting in our body. Then digestion says, hey, I actually cost a huge amount of money to function. So how about I cut off funding so that we can make more extra income for cortisol to deal with the stress. And now we're not digesting our food properly. So even if we're eating the best diet in the world, we're not breaking it down. It isn't able to be utilized by the body. And we're going to get chronically low in critical nutrients and critical macronutrients for repair and rebuilding and for running our bodies. Then detoxification is next. It says, you know what? I cost an enormous amount of money to run properly. So how about I go on low power mode, like with your cell phone? When the battery is low and you turn it on low power mode, your screen will still light up, but only at 30% and not for very long. That's now your detoxification system. So the body says, you know what? Let me take all of these toxins and I will just shove them into fat and bone and brain and tissue instead of getting them out of the body, because that's going to cost too much money. So now we are laboring under these toxic loads, which cause insomnia and bad skin and foggy thinking and weight gain. And so we start to see now this cycle of metabolic chaos, how all of these things work together. It's not just one thing. It's not just one root cause. That root cause has now affected everything around it. And now we are in this state of metabolic chaos. So the first thing that we do is sort out metabolic chaos with functional lab work. So we are going to look at what we call our hidden systems: hormones, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and nervous system. Now, there are some very intelligent viewers out there, and I'm sure you're saying to yourself, that's not every healing opportunity in the body. There's the brain, there's neurotransmitters, there's the cardiovascular system. There are a lot of things not included in HIDDEN. And you're incredibly correct. You are absolutely right. But what we have discovered through Reed Davis's years of clinical observation and years of working with clients in the clinic is that these 6 are generally enough to right the ship. So if the ship is sailing towards that shore of dysfunction, all we need to do is turn it around and have it start sailing in the other direction. We don't have to reach the other shore. We just have to get the ship going in the right direction. And for the majority of folks, these 6 systems will be enough to get us there. So then we are going to create a personalized Dressed for Health Success program for every person based on their lab data and based on how they live their lives and how they show up in the world. So what is the right diet for them? It's not a one size fits all equation. And then with rest, this is something largely ignored in the functional world. We want to make sure that our clients are sleeping for 8 hours a day and getting good rest, that they're getting deep sleep, that they're not waking up constantly, and that they have downtime during the day, that they're doing good sleep hygiene, that they have breaks between things, that they have moments where they are practicing letting the body know that it is safe enough to turn inward and look at the internal environment. If there is any hint of danger where we need to be paying attention externally, the body will prioritize that. So these moments of rest, these moments of downtime, and this dedication to proper sleep is letting the body know that it's safe enough to look inward and do its repair work, to take that money out of the vital reserve bank account and spend it upstream so that we win this game against chronic disease. Then with exercise, we want to make sure that we are aligning exercise commensurate to the amount of money that we have in the vital reserve bank. Because if I'm exhausted and I don't have any money in my vital reserve bank account and I'm doing CrossFit 5 days a week, I'm not helping myself. I am, in fact, causing exercise to become another distress where it's costing money instead of giving money. So we want to make sure that we're doing the right amount of exercise and that we're scaling that exercise appropriate to the amount of money that we're adding to the vital reserve bank account. Then we have stress reduction. We talked about this a little bit when we did the brain body diagram about the really comprehensive approach to stress reduction that FDN takes, where we're going to think about stress reduction in terms of the physical stressors, the mental emotional stressors, and the environmental stressors. We do incredibly comprehensive inventories with our clients to make sure that as we're working through the protocols, they are identifying every single stressor that we can find in their environment, within their lifestyle, within their home, within their mental emotional circuits, and remove as many of them as we possibly can. And then with supplementation, we want to make sure that supplementation is targeted and specific to the imbalances that we're trying to correct. We want to make sure that it is supplemental, not the whole ball game, and that it doesn't become this corollary to prescription drugs. Prescription drugs are nature times 1,000. And because of that, because of this high potency that comes with a lot of chemicals and a lot of other side effects that are really not great for us, they are powerful enough to bust through symptoms without changing lifestyle. But supplements are not that way. Supplements are nature times 10 or nature times 20 or nature times 50. They're not more potent than that. So they require additional lifestyle changes. They cannot do it on their own. And so we want to make sure that the supplementation we're using is incredibly intentional, that we know why we're using it, and that it fits into a holistic plan. And that is the Dress for Health Success program. And then step 3 is to run the program. And that's going to look different for every person. But mostly they're going to go through 3 phases of care. That relief phase, where we are dealing with intelligent allopathy to support those symptoms that are most offensive to them and the biggest spenders of vital reserve. And then we're going to go into that corrective phase where we're really seeking to balance out the deficits that we discovered on the lab work. And then the maintenance phase is where we've done the education, we've done the initial push to correct, and now we are just maintaining the gains that we were able to win during our protocol together. So we're going to start with the weakest area, answer questions and guide course correction, and provide that honest feedback and accountability. We don't just say, here's your protocol, good luck. We check in with our clients every few weeks to make sure that they're doing well. If new things are popping up, that we're addressing them. If old things remain a problem, that we're coming up with different strategies. That's going to be something that's going to happen with every single client. So we are well prepared to go in and course correct and help our clients walk that journey. So this is the FDN program and the philosophy as a whole. And I would love at this point to take any questions that you might have.
I did not expect that ending right there. You caught me chewing. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yep.
No, I was looking at the slide number, so I was like, I thought we were good. Also, I'd like to welcome Brandy's kid to the chat. He said hello to us, Elizabeth. So Eli is in the chat saying hello today. Glad to have you, Eli. Thank you.
Oh, amazing. Hi,
If you
Eli.
guys have any questions for us, please let us know. Otherwise, obviously, drop a huge thank you for Elizabeth. Since it takes about 30 to 60 seconds for things to come through, just wanted to remind you guys at about 14 minutes from now, we'll take a break. And then we'll take the break for 30 minutes. Sorry. After this session's done. And then we'll have a trainee roundtable. So we'll have some of our trainees that are active in the FDN course come on and share their experience, and we will all ask them questions. Let's give them a second here with stuff. Let's see if there's any questions from before. Oh, this is what someone was bringing up this point before. It's not a question, but I definitely resonate with this. This is when you were talking about some of the medication statistics. They were saying all the medication, makes them a little bit sad and a bit fearful for the future. And, it's bittersweet, right? It's actually great in a sense, and I'm sure this person would agree with this. It's great in a sense that we can keep these people held on with a life jacket right now because the medications are probably doing that for them. At the same time, even though I would never wish this upon people, this is not what I'm saying, it's just a hypothetical. I do wonder if the Western medicine machine was not as strong as it is and was not able to provide people with these life jackets, I wonder how much more urgency we would be taking as a species about these problems, Elizabeth, if we couldn't ignore this stuff. Imagine we can't just give someone a medication and keep them hanging in for another 5, 10, and 15 years before the next prescription or whatever.
Yeah.
I do wonder sometimes, would we attack it a little bit more urgently? Because I think we need to be doing that, and we're not as focused on that as we should be right now.
Yeah, I concur. I think the medication is really good at covering up the sort of the most urgent layers, but it doesn't get to the rest of the onion. And that's really where the game is won or lost, is in those deeper layers.
Gotcha. All right. Let me, I'm going to remove this so they can see our lovely faces. Hopefully they think they're lovely. And Rachel had a question here. Rachel, by the way, did you get I'm making sure everything was good for you yesterday. Did you get your prizes? She won 2 things yesterday in our keynote, a lot of giveaways. So just making sure she got them. Anyway, does FDN teach that every client needs all parts of the dress system? Good question.
Yes. Mostly every client needs all part of the dress system. I mean, occasionally I get a client whose sleep is perfect and they're doing it perfectly. They're doing it at the right time and for the right amount of time, and they're taking breaks and they're taking downtime. And but I'm certainly going to evaluate all 5 pillars of dress to determine whether or not there need to be modifications. And I would say 99% of the time, we do need to work on all 5 pillars.
Yeah, and the thing is, in the different phases of your life as well, we're always going to need the 5 pillars, but depending on the phase of one's life, we might need to focus a little bit more on certain things. So, I went through a phase, especially recently in the last year and a half, there was just so much going on, moves constantly, conferences, traveling, all this stuff, which I'm very grateful for and is fun, but it is highly stressful. And so it's all right, am I doing my stress reduction stuff that I can be doing? Yes. Is my diet on par? Yes. Thankfully, I travel to places typically that allow for me to still eat well, which is great. Rest, I'm doing about as well as I can there. Exercise, thank God, I love doing that. So if anything, I have to purposely tone that back than add anything to my life. So in those cases, certain things I do use supplementally, not because I want to do that forever, but just because that's the one variable or column, if you will, in that phase of my life that I'm able to change. Versus, maybe I got all the supplements, rest is fine, exercise, stress reduction, all good, but I've become a little more lax on the diet. And quite frankly, if the other 4 pillars were good, you might be able to get away with that. But if I was in a subpar state of health or a place I didn't want to be, well, of course, I'm going to go right back to that thing. So it's not even that it just is about all the columns for all the people. It certainly is. But some of those columns and pillars we need to focus on a little bit more at a given time, depending on the phase that we might be in.
For sure.
All right. And then Holly had said it is a deceptive safety net. Yeah, it is. And that's another thing that I feel bad about for the consumer. Welcome back, Holly, because I know that you were on yesterday. I don't think I've seen your name much before on these events, so glad that you're here. It is deceptive. And I think that's what it does to the consumer is if they're not in this mindset that all of us are in, that's why we're on these events and we watch these things. If they're not in that mindset yet, then they kind of think, okay, cool. Well, this happened to me. Maybe they think it was genetics. Maybe they think this is just life and what happens to you when you turn freaking 30 years old, which is crazy. Of course, that shouldn't be happening. And as long as I take this, hey, I feel 90% better right now. And it will be that way for the rest of my life. And all of us know better. That is not the reality, but certainly it is a deceptive safety net. It's a little bit of a bittersweet thing, because the same system that's even allowing Western medicine to be used, if we solved for that, we wouldn't need it. But I am glad that these people that are suffering with these chronic illnesses can hang on for a little bit, hopefully, so that they have kind of enough time here to see the light with this, if you will, and be able to make some changes that are positive.
Rachel has further explained her question. I think she basically was wanting to know if we recommend supplementation for everybody. And every practitioner is different on this, Rachel, how much or how little they want to focus on supplementation. But one thing we do teach at FDN is that the soil is not the same as it was 100 years ago. So even if you're eating purely organic food, it's still not as nutritious as it was 100 years ago. And so there are things that are going to be missing. And we call this category of supplementation substitution. And I think we all need substitution to some degree or another. And so is the majority of the protocol supplements? Doesn't have to be, for sure. We definitely recognize that all 5 pillars are incredibly important. Now, a lot of us are working on shorter timeframes, and we want to see clients make progress in short timeframes. If I have somebody working with me for a year, then I have a little less pressure to put in supplementation to see change over that period of time, because we have a lot more time to be putting money in the Vital Reserve bank account. If they're working with me for 3 months, then I want to put in some supplementation to get there faster. So it is a matter of practitioner choice and the health goals that the client has, as to how big a role supplementation plays in the DRESS protocol.
It's a good point, or just good thing to bring up too, Rachel. I didn't realize that you were a PhD in natural medicine. That's very cool. Who is your, if you don't mind sharing, who's your typical clientele? Do you have a specific niche, or is it more like a naturopathic doctor? No, I'm not saying it's the same degree, but I'm saying a lot of naturopathic doctors, they'll kind of take anyone in their community. So I'm wondering if you have more of a niche, or you take anyone in your community that wants some help. Regardless, what I was going to say is, yeah, I totally agree and would bounce off of what Elizabeth says, where even the example that I brought up, let's say that again slowly, you know what I mean? Traveling all the time, going to conferences nonstop, doing all this stuff. That's a personal choice I make for my life, and this is not on behalf of FDN. I'm speaking now on behalf of Evan Transu, because you guys will get clients like that. I had to decide fairly early on for myself what I wanted out of all of this, because here's the thing. I was sick from 5 to 18, like very sick, progressively sick. 18 was the first time that I started to get some positive momentum. And I wouldn't really call it until my early to mid 20s that I became stabilized. And by the way, I don't think I ever feel like 100%. Like if I were to go out and do what some of my friends still do at 30 years old, stay out till 3 or 4 in the morning, I wouldn't feel great from that. And I know that no one feels ideal the next day, but truly, it's almost like to the point where I would not be able to function in a normal way for the next day. And that probably comes from, over a decade of severe health issues during my developmental years. So what I mean by all this, and what I'm getting to, is because I came into it with a very purist attitude. That was just me personally. Not everyone's like that. But I actually kind of wanted, or I had this idea that if I found the perfect diet, everything was going to be fine. That was my idea before I came into IIN and then FDN. I thought I could figure out the perfect diet and everything would go away. And things got a lot better when I found a perfect diet for me, not perfect diet for everyone, but a perfect diet for me. But I also am extraordinarily ambitious. I like doing crazy things, and I like adventuring. And I've decided for myself that I'd rather maintain a certain level of health and squeeze the most out of that I can for the next period of my life and a couple of decades, versus slowing it down and possibly living even a full decade longer. And some people might say, hey, you're 30, you can't decide that yet. You might be totally right. I might regret that, but I have spent a lot of time with this over the last 12 years. And I'm just realizing, I want to go do these things. I just moved to Austin. Elizabeth knows that. She lived here for a while. I'm in a city, man. There's EMF. I know that this isn't the best choice. There's pollution. Like I could go, I'm work online. I could just as easily go live in the mountains, or I could live in somewhere a little bit more natural. But I like this. I think it's fun, and I like the people, and I like being able to have access to cool things like 5, 6 different pickleball courts and MMA gyms and all that stuff. And I'd rather do that and experiment with it now, and take some extra supplementation if need be, so that I can live this way. And if that means a shorter life, well, it was pretty short regardless, right? The longest life's still pretty short, unfortunately. So I'm sorry to get into that. It's just like a bigger philosophical thing. So I'm curious if we got a follow-up from her here, but I'd love to know what you think about that too, Elizabeth, since we took it a little farther.
Yeah, I mean, I think each practitioner has the ability to decide how important supplementation is to them. And I agree, Eb, I'd love to travel. I love to like go see the world. And so I'm going to take some immune modulation before I get on a plane. I'm just going to do that because I know that I don't necessarily have control of what I'm going to eat in an airport to an international flight. If I'm going to, be traveling for 24 hours, I don't have control of my diet. I don't have control of my rest. I don't have control of my exercise. I don't have control of my stress reduction in that situation. And so I've got to really hit supplementation to try and fill in for some of that in that scenario. So yeah, it's a matter of priority and how you best think that you can take care of yourself and your clients.
And this is cool that Rachel did answer that. She said, I work with a specific clientele by word of mouth only from all over the world, and they are generally referred by practitioners that don't know what to do next. We can relate to that. That's awesome. Nice job. Any other questions for our lovely Elizabeth here? I guess we only have a couple of minutes. So let us know if there's any other last questions. But I like that discussion. We could spend probably a whole hour or two on that, dissecting the different parts of dress and how much emphasis we want to put onto one. All of that was to say, by the way, I do believe that I actually know exactly how to live, that I would not need, quote unquote, any supplements. And I just don't want to do that right now. Did I lose Elizabeth? Nope, she's back. Don't worry. Hi again.
Hello. I think I just had a little internet bobble. Sorry.
All good. It's so weird. That happened to me yesterday, except I'm the host, so that's kind of problematic, at the end of Kelsey's 2-hour thing. And so I had to sneak back in really quick. So glad you're back. All I was going to say is the longer I'm in this space, it's more about, whatever the person needs to do for them to maintain whatever level of health they'd like. That's cool for me. But in a perfect world, I would love for us not to be poisoned. I'd like for us to not have extraordinarily high amounts of EMFs. And I think we'd probably be able to still participate in the world just fine, change some diet and rest stuff, and maybe not benefit as much from things on the supplement side. But that's just me personally. You got any final words of wisdom, my friend? I know you usually do.
Well, I just want to say to everybody, thank you for being here, and thank you for your interest, and thank you for taking responsibility of knowing that you are in this game, because we're in it whether we want to be or not. This is the game we're all playing, whether we know it or not, whether we want to play it or not. It's the game we're all playing. And so I really admire those of you who are here in this journey, asking these questions and taking responsibility for the game that you are in, the reasons why you're in that game, and what is at stake for you in that game. So I hope you really enjoy the rest of our Black Friday offerings, and I'll be back.
Cool. Yeah, we can't wait to have you back, Elizabeth. And I will be back in just about 30 minutes with you guys. Remember, we'll have a trainee roundtable. So if you are a trainee or graduate currently, I know some of you guys showed up yesterday. I just want you to know I feel bad. I can't promise you anything new from that session, but we love having you there. I know it's great for support for our trainees. I just can't promise you anything new in that particular session. Also, make sure you're constantly checking your schedules because we are updating things actively. We have so many case studies coming for you guys next week with some amazing speakers. So I mentioned those sessions because those are literally for everyone. That is for new people, trainees, and graduates. Everything in those sessions can be beneficial to all different types of individuals watching this. Elizabeth, you rock. Always love hanging out with you. And I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes for our trainee roundtable.